to also present some of the tools and capacity building support provided by the UN Red program, and to have a discussion on the experiences from countries and deriving from this how the tools can be improved and what else needs to be done to support countries to implement Red Plus in a way that makes use of the possible benefits and avoids the risks. So the benefits and risks of Red Plus, Red Plus, as you all know, consists of a series of possible activities. So on the one hand, it's where all the discussion started, reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation. But it has also been enhanced to include conservation of carbon stocks, sustainable management of forests, and enhancement of carbon stocks. So we are actually considering quite a wide spectrum of activities, and all of these activities can bring their own benefits and risks. Multiple benefits from Red Plus. So beyond carbon stock maintenance and enhancement, which is the original aim, Red Plus can also contribute to strengthened livelihoods, enhancement of ecosystem services, and conservation of biodiversity. But Red Plus can also bring social and environmental risks, such as risks to livelihoods, for example, limiting local people's access to the forest, limiting development opportunities in forestry and agriculture, or increasing inequality through unfair benefit sharing systems. While the risks to biodiversity and ecosystem services may include intensification of forest use, for example, conversion of forests to plantations, displacement of deforestation or forest degradation to non-target ecosystems. So if Red Plus is implemented in one place, the pressures may simply shift somewhere else. Or the intensified use of agricultural systems to balance the loss of expansion opportunities in agriculture. So what we can take from this is that Red Plus can provide multiple benefits, but this doesn't happen automatically. And this is the reason why we are having this session, and why also the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change has developed some safeguards that address these concerns and that countries are asked to implement. So I'm sure many of you are already aware of this, the Cancun decision from 2010, which among other things asks countries to promote and support the following: full and effective participation of stakeholders in Red Plus, respect for the knowledge and rights of indigenous peoples and local communities, address the risks of reversals to make sure that benefits from Red Plus are maintained. No action should be used for the conversion of natural forests, and also to go further than that and incentivize the protection and conservation of forests and their ecosystem services, and to enhance all other social and environmental benefits. So countries are expected to apply these safeguards and also to report on them. So countries are requested to develop a system for providing information on how Red Plus safeguards are addressed and respected. And further guidance on that information system is still under development by the Climate Change Convention. So what we take from this is that countries need support to identify and address the Red Plus benefits and risks. Because these benefits and risks are of course country specific, depending on the national situation, the situation of forests, which kind of Red Plus activities will be preferred in the country, and also among the many possible benefits of Red Plus, because, for example, many ecosystem services can be linked to forests. Priorities need to be determined based on the national circumstances, and of course staying within what is provided by the safeguards. Another challenge that many countries face is that data are missing or out of date. And so countries need specific guidance and methodologies on applying safeguards, on mapping, quantifying and valuing biodiversity and ecosystem services so that they can be taken into account in Red Plus planning, and also on monitoring the impacts of Red Plus on these biodiversity and ecosystem service benefits. And the UN Red program actually supports a number of countries in these tasks, as we will hear later. And so with this brief introduction to why we are having this session and what we are hoping to discuss, I would like to hand over to Professor Yoon to say some words about the project that Seoul National University is implementing on capacity building for RED+ readiness in developing countries.
Good morning. I am Professor Yoon Chang from Seoul National University. This session is co-organized by UNDP with our team. We have been implementing a UNDP project for capacity development in developing countries for RED+ readiness. It's a 3-year project funded by Korean government originally. So Seoul National University implements this, and we have interest working through the UNEP to contribute to the output of our project, which has 3. This project expects to enhance the capacity for RED implementation through training forestry experts. And we are going to develop some curriculum to be used for their MRV and monitoring system and forest policy in the participating countries. There are 5 participating countries: Philippines, Indonesia, Myanmar, China, and Mongolia. And we want to develop a network of experts through this project for further collaboration and capacity development in the future. There are 2 aspects. One is MRV systems enhancement, and expertise in forestry governance to support RED+ in developing countries. We have 1 week and 10 days training workshop starting last Monday until next Wednesday. There are 15 international participants from 6 countries, 5 countries mentioned, and plus Malaysia. And those 15 participants, we are learning some of new technologies, RED+ MRV system, and we are going to discuss about how we can go about enhancing our research and policy-making capacity for forest governance in the coming period. This project will be last until the end of 2014. So we decided to have this session together with UNEP as part of this training program. So, as I told you, this project has 3 output expected, and we are going to have international training workshop as well as regional workshop, and we also provide postgraduate scholarships for at least 5 candidates from these 5 countries who can pursue their master degree or PhD degree in RED+ related studies. This is all about our project, and I hope and these participants for this training program are participating in this forum, and we want to have their active participation. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for these introductory words. And I would like now to call our first speaker for the country's presentation on experiences. So I'm inviting Dr. Mubarak Ahmad from the Indonesian Red Plus Task Force to tell us about the development of the Indonesian safeguards instrument.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Cordula, for bringing me here. I'm from the Indonesian Task Force on REDD, and specifically working on the strategy working group. And we are developing the task of our the main task of our working group is to develop the national strategy for REDD implementation, as well as developing the provincial strategy and action plans for implementation that we hope will start next year in Indonesia. With respect to the safeguard issues, it is actually under the responsibility of the funding instruments working group, but there are outlines and directives from the national strategy upon which the development of the safeguard system is being developed and finalized at this moment. So what I'm going to present here briefly is some information about the process and a little bit about the substance of the safeguard itself. But due to limited time, I may have to run through some slides, and we can continue with the discussion later if there are enough interest for that. Yeah, let me start with the context. This is the context in which the whole REDD implementation system is being developed in Indonesia at the moment. So we are the third or fourth largest forested countries in the world, especially for the tropical forest. We have a significant extent of peatland as well as mangrove area in the country, and both forest on the peatland as well as mangrove forests are part of the REDD coverage in the strategy. We still have high deforestation rate. The official number is about 600,000 hectares per year now. I'm still using the old official number here, about 1 million, because there are still controversies about the number, as usual. And we all believe now in Indonesia, it's admitted by all parties that industrial logging and conversion to plantations are the main drivers of our deforestation. Then, in terms of ownership, forest lands are categorized mostly as a state forest. About 95% of the forest land, I think, is categorized as state-owned forest land, and because of that, we have a lot of issues with the IP rights, indigenous people rights, and forests are being used through concessions mechanism, and this is handed out by the government, Ministry of Forestry, to concessions, various types of concessions. It applies for logging concessions, for the products, for the monoculture forest plantations, as well as other monoculture plantations in Indonesia, as well as for the mining. And then the REDD initiatives in Indonesia is seen as the opportunity for change. That's basically what it is, because if we look at so many efforts to revitalize forests within the past 20 years, you name it, from the National Forest Program, Forest for People, forest certification initiatives, biodiversity, and everything, they all amount to the same thing. The requirements for all those initiatives to be successful is the same as requirements for sustainable forest management. And we also solved questions. Now, by changing all those names into REDD+, what makes us so confident that by itself it will deliver results? No. So that's the very basic questions we ask ourselves. We are serious about developing REDD as a new opportunity for reestablishing the forest dignity, if you like. Then something else needs to be done beyond what has been thought so far. So this is the framework of our REDD implementation strategy. Basically, it consists of 5 blocks or pillars of strategy. New institutions and processes needs to be established. Laws and regulations needs to be changed. There are strategic programs that needs to create significant momentum for the change. And then paradigm shift and change in work culture needs to be initiated. And then multi-stakeholder engagement has to be at the bottom of it. So basically, if you look at those things, you will not find them in the existing policy frameworks. So and also in the implementations realm of the Indonesian forestry policy. That's why we are saying that if REDD is to be successful in Indonesia, the bottom line is it has to be done as business unusual. So it's business unusual is seen as an approach to make an REDD a success. The existing licensing mechanism for concessions as well as for land conversions cannot be upheld anymore if we are talking about serious REDD implementation in the country. This is just a little bit reflecting the process and how we develop the mechanism after developing the strategy. So all the previous the strategies that I've explained before is being elaborated further by these 10 working groups, and we call it the design process. And this is all these people are professionals. Some of them are government people, and most of them are not government people. So this is a new approach that is reflected in the force who are now developing the system itself, combinations of government and non-government people. This is basically the very general strategy for staging up toward implementations. We prepare strategies and action plans. We prepare the system. We check about the capacities. We check also about the stakeholders engagement, how much buy-in we get down there by the whole society about developing a new initiative. And then we pilot a few things. We support the development of the REDD pilot site done by private sectors, done by bilateral sponsors, done by NGOs, and done by communities. So we have got a range of pilots on the ground. At the moment, about 71 initiatives are listed at the pilot level, although they are at different stages. Some are feeling that they are ready to sell their carbons in the voluntary markets. Some just still making plans, and we'll go into implementations hopefully in full blown starting next year. This is how the safeguards is anchored in the national strategy. It's anchored in pillar number 5, stakeholders engagement. So it is done in parallel with, or it is developed in parallel with 3 other components of the participations in that. The first one is the concept of partnership with the communities. There is quite a shift in the thinking about the new approach to development agenda in Indonesia. In the past, I think everybody is prepared now to admit that we have done development through displacement, by displacing local peoples and indigenous people. And I think the recognition is now widespread that if we do it differently, many indigenous people and communities at the bottom, on the ground, would have been much more prosperous than they are now. Displacement was done through by taking over the ownership from the group of communities, especially IPs, and handed it over to some other players, which mostly corporate sector. So that needs to change, and which is why the partnership strategy has to be developed also for the REDD development. We want the community to also co-own the area where the REDD is being developed, not just sitting on the sideline as watchers, or at the most as workers of this business, if it is developed in the business context. And then FPIC is this mechanism that is obligated in the system. It has to be done in all REDD projects. Then safeguard frameworks and information system are all tied up again to the MRV. And then the benefit sharing needs to be worked on in a equitable way. Then, in terms of implementation, safeguard will be implemented by independent parties. Actually, it's using the independent assessment mechanism, and it will be ensured by the funding instruments group. And then there will be a safeguard committee at the central level that oversees the system and the implementations of the safeguard here on the ground. Then, in terms of development, this is what I would like to share. The way we look at safeguard, it is a tool, it is an instrument to assess the possibility of various risks during the implementations, and then by identifying the risk at the beginning, then it should translate into the management actions, plan and actions during the implementations of the project. So it should not be seen as only a prior to the project implementation, but it should be seen as something that needs to be checked regularly. Which is why in the bullets number 3, you will see that in terms of information system, the safeguards criteria and indicators will be incorporated into the MRV system as part of the non-carbon MRV. The safeguards covers